name is Naomi, and I'm going to be reading Chapter 2 of The Donut Fix by Jessie Janowitz. An hour later, we piled into the car and headed upstate on the highway along the Hudson River. Somewhere in Westchester, my parents came clean. This road trip wasn't about pink ladies and buttermilk ice cream. Surprise! Dad said louder than you should ever say anything in a car, even if it is a station wagon. I don't understand, Janine said, leaning as far into the front seat as the seatbelt would let her go. You bought a house? Why? Because we loved it, Dad said. The smile on his face was so big, he took up the whole rearview mirror. Mom turned around, smiling that same huge smile. And because it's beautiful. And because it's something different, my father added. So it'll be like that place on the Jersey Shore Sam's family has, I said. That's a vacation home, Mom said. So what will this be? I still didn't get it. A home, Dad said. That instinct, it was as if the air had been sucked out of the car. It felt like we were piling on a plane falling out of the sky, and those oxygen masks should have been dropping down from the ceiling of our car. I couldn't speak. I looked at Mom, who was still turned around, and tried sending her messages with my brain to ask if this was really happening. And she must have understood because she nodded. I don't feel good, Zoe said. I could feel her tugging on my sleeve, but I didn't do anything. Here, sweetie, Mom said, as she reached back, pulled one of the old yogurt containers, also known as vomit buckets, off the armrest of Zoe's car seat and handed it to her. Throwing up in cars, or really anything that moves, is normal for Zoe. You're going to love it, Dad said, still grinning at us, in the shattering his stupid happy face. I think my parents kept talking. I'm not sure, because all I could hear were my insides screaming as we dropped out of the sky. I don't understand why do we have to move, Janine said, her voice catching at the end so that move sounded like two words instead of one. We don't have to move. We want to move, Mom said. How could I believe that when I'd never heard them talk about leaving the city? Not once, not ever. Besides, would they tell us that we had to move even if that were the truth? This had to be Oscar McFadden's fault. Oscar McFadden was the reason my father had lost his job a month before. Oscar McFadden was the reason the bank where my father had worked since before I was born didn't even exist anymore. Don't ask me how. All I know is that the guy took the bank's money and put it into some crazy scheme that lost more than the bank ever had in the first place. He'd hidden what he was doing, so Dad didn't even have a clue. But once all the money was gone and the bank had gone up in smoke, it didn't matter what Dad knew. Just having worked in the same room as that crook meant no bank would ever hire him again. We really want something different, Dad said. I hated the way he kept saying that. This wasn't something different. This wasn't even something. This was too big for something. It was everything. What if Dad still had his job at the bank? Would he still want everything different then? Look, Dad and I have lived in New York our whole lives. We know what that's like. We thought it was time to try living someplace new, Mom said. Once you guys see the place, I'm telling you, you'll get it. And Trish, just wait. The land is so beautiful, you're going to love it, Dad said. You think I'm going to love the dirt and the grass and the trees? I said. Yes, Trish, you, he said, pointing at himself in the mirror. What was he talking about? I wasn't a nature kid. I knew those kids. They were the ones always digging in the dirt, looking for worms at the playground when we were little. And now they went to sleepaway camps, where the toilets was just a hole in the ground. Wait till you see the pond, Dad went on, all excited, like he was talking about a wicked roller coaster and not a large hole filled with water. You can swim in it in summer and skate on it in winter. I don't know how to skate, Zoe said, the words echoing out of her vomit bucket. We'll teach you, Mom said. I hate skating, I said. Why? Dad said. You just go in circles. It's boring. Not on a pond. On a pond you can go anywhere, he said. No, you can't. You're still skating in circles. They're just bigger circles. But we could fall through the ice, Janine said, suddenly panicked. Zoe can't even swim. She'll drown. I swim, Zoe said, with water wings. Are you going to go ice skate in your water wings? Janine said. Can I, Mommy? Look, nobody needs water wings for skating because nobody's falling through the ice. Got it? Said my mom. All serious now. She clearly wanted us to drop the whole subject. How do you know? I said, glaring at her. I didn't care what she wanted. I might never care what either of my parents wanted ever again. I didn't care about ice skating on the stupid pond either. But I couldn't win an argument about moving. Have you thought about any of this at all? Janine shouted as she burst into tears. Why is Janine crying? Zoe said, peeking up from the vomit bucket. She still hadn't fully understood what was happening. Somebody will test the ice, okay? I promise. We'll make sure it's safe, my father said, as if Janine was actually crying because she was afraid of falling through the ice. Like who? Professional ice testers, I said, trying to force my face into a smirk and failing because smirking is impossible when you're dropping out of the sky. I don't know who, my father said, his smile finally failing. All I know is that we're going to figure it out, and when we do, it's going to be great. The ice, the house, the land, all of it. And you're all going to love it. If it was all so great, and he knew we'd love it, would he have to keep telling us we would? I knew Great. Great was New York City. Great was Barney Greengrass. Great was Charlie Crammer, who'd been my best friend since we were in the Red Room in preschool together. It was as if my parents had made up this story about some other family, one that loves ice skating and nature and is bored of living in the greatest city in the world, and we were not. And we were just supposed to play along and pretend that was us, even though none of it was true. 3 hours later, Dad turned off Country Road 21B into woods so thick they cut out the sun. We're here, he practically sang as we started up a steep, zigzagging dirt road. But here wasn't where we were. Here was at the top of the mountain, and we were still at the bottom. We had a whole vomit bucket to go before here. Finally, we came out of the trees and rolled to a top in front of a sagging purple house. Dad was wrong. We were here now. I was seeing it. The land, the house, all of it. And I wasn't getting it. Not the broken down, grape-colored house, windows popping out in all the wrong places. Not the shed that really was only half a shed, because the other half looked like someone had burned it to the ground. Not the miles and miles of lonely sky and houseless, peopleless fields and woods trapping us on the top of this cliff. Come on, guys. Don't you want to come check it out? Mom said. Janine, Zoe, and I didn't move. Can I have your phone? Janine asked, sniffling. Why? Dad said. To call Kevin. Kevin Metz, chess champion, is the male version of Janine. They met in Gifted and Talented in kindergarten and had been best friends ever since. You can call Kevin on the way home. Now you're seeing the house, Mom said. Where are we? I asked, looking out the window. Petersville, Dad said. Is there an actual town? I didn't see another house anywhere. About 6 miles away, Mom said. How are we supposed to get there? I said. Car or bike, Dad said. We need to get in the car just to get milk, I said. What do you think of the house? Big, right? Mom was smiling, that huge smile again. Clearly, that was a yes, or needing the car to go get milk. No more sharing, Dad said as he and Mom got out of the car. You guys each get your own room. Don't you want to go in and look around? Janine, Zoe, and I still didn't move. For once, I'm pretty sure we were all thinking the same thing. If we went inside, that was it. The house was ours. From the inside, it could still belong to someone else. Mom opened the door to the back seat. Come on, come see. Why are the windows all different sizes? I said, staying put. It's neat, right? She said. An artist and her husband built it. They wanted something completely original, something that would surprise you. Were they colorblind? Janine asked. Mom laughed. No, the artist's name is Iris. You know, the flower. Most of the furniture was purple, too. Pretty zany. Is that code for crazy? I said. They aren't crazy, Dad said. We met them. They're great. Like everything else here, I said into my t-shirt. Dad opened the back door on the other side. Enough! Everybody out! Janine, Zoe, and I obeyed in slow motion, and we didn't go in the house. We just stood beside the car on the brown lawn. Even the grass looked unhappy to be there. Janine leaned back against the car and studied the house. Did they give it to you for free? Of course not, Mom said. How do you know it's safe? I plopped down on the grass next to Janine's feet. It wasn't just that I didn't want to go any closer to the house than I had to. I needed to stick with my side. This was us versus them, and we were going to lose. We'd already lost, even if Janine didn't realize it yet. And if we were going down, maybe even because we had to stay together. Janine must have felt it too, because a minute later, she slid down the car until she was kneeling next to me on the ground. Dad blew his cheeks out like a chipmunk. He was definitely annoyed. We didn't want to go in the house, but he didn't try to make us get up. Instead, he and Mom walked across the sad lawn and sat down on the porch stairs opposite us. Zoe looked at my parents, back at us, and then climbed into my lap. She still didn't get the everything of what was happening, but even she knew there were sides and which was hers. What does an artist know about building a house anyways? Janine said. Was her husband an architect? He worked for the postage service, my father said. What's it called when you're not supposed to go into a building because they're afraid it's going to fall on you? I squinted up at a portion of the roof that looked like it was working practically hard to resist the force of gravity. Condemned, Mom said. Oh yeah, Janine nodded. It's totally condemned. It's not condemned, Dad said. It's completely safe. It just needs some work. It'll be fun. I don't understand, I said. Neither of you knows anything about fixing up things. I guess the parents in the made-up family we were pretending to be were also really handy. We're smart. We'll figure it out, Dad said. You couldn't even put together Zoe's toddler bed, I reminded him. And that came with an instruction manual and pictures. You didn't even need to know how to read. Fair point, he said, but I think I learned from that experience. And how are you going to have time to fix up the house and do a job? I said. Easy. I'm not going to get another job. How's that going to work? I asked. Mom hadn't cooked at a restaurant since I was born, and I was pretty sure we couldn't live on what she made catering a few parties every month. Yeah. Don't you eventually need a job that pays you, Janine said. We have savings, plus things are a lot less less expensive out here, and your mom is going to start a business, so I'll help with that. Tell me, Kira. I'm going to open a restaurant, Mom said, smiling her biggest smile, the one that goes all the way from her crooked to she doesn't like to let people see. China place? Zoe said, jumping up. I don't think so, Zozo. I'm not going to serve Chinese food. But I love Chinese food. I know, but I'm going to make food I like to cook. It will actually be the first restaurant in Petersville. Isn't that exciting? There are no restaurants? How does it even qualify as a town? I asked. Of course it's a town, she said. But think how amazing it will be to open a restaurant in a place where there aren't any others. That wasn't what I was thinking. What I was thinking was, what was wrong with the people who lived here that it had never occurred to anyone to open a restaurant? We never did go inside that day. We just sat there on the ground till my parents gave up and told us to get back in the car. So I guess we won something. Us won. Them, everything else. All right, that was chapter 2 of The Donut Fix by Jessie Janowitz.